Hey everyone, it's Ed Gutowski. I wanted to create a welcome video which I sort of introduce myself to you in class and talk about the textbooks for the course. Our class is going to be a lot of fun. English 1B is a class that deals with an introduction to literature. So we're going to focus on some short stories, some poetry, and in fact the first week of class is pretty easy because basically you're going to look at a set of poems that are going to be the entire foundation of class. And then we're going to end our class looking at some Shakespeare. But I got to tell you, English 1B is a super fun class. I'm really excited for the books that we're going to be looking for using this term, especially because I'm using some new material and I'm using a contemporary author. You know, a lot of times students, when they take an introduction to literature class, they ask, who are the great contemporary writers of American fiction? Who's our generation, say, Mark Twain? And so there's a new author that sort of popped up on the scene, and I think she's just fabulous. And as a class, we're going to get to determine whether or not she's a significant writer of American literature and whether or not her book deserves as much praise as it gets. So let me talk about the books we're going to use. First book we're going to look at is Backpacker's Guide to Literature. This is the book that'll have all the short stories and many of the poems that we're going to look at for class. The textbooks you can order online, or you can order them through the campus bookstore as well. So let's talk about the first book. The first book we're going to look at is A Change in Altitude by Anita Shriver. And this is actually the second book that I'm teaching by her. Last semester, I taught one of her books for the first time. It's called Light and Snow, and it was fantastic. Students really liked the book. They liked kind of her perspective on things. And what I wanted to do, and many actually, it was kind of interesting because students started to kind of analyze the questions of, is she a significant writer? Does she deserve such great praise? Should she be up there with writers like John Updike and Philip Roth, Amy Tan, or Ann Taylor? And it was interesting because a lot of students liked the books. I got great papers. But as we were going through the process, we found sort of how her writing shaped, and one of the events that shaped her is she spent some time in Africa, and this is the book that she writes about Africa, and I think it's pretty amazing. What Shriver likes to do is she likes to set up kind of a mystery, and then you got to kind of unravel the mystery. So it's about a group of sort of expat Americans who are living in Kenya, and they decide to count Mount Kenya. And then there's a murder, and you kind of have to figure out how that murder works. And I really think this is probably one of her best novels. And it also gets us to look at, and so part of class we'll be able to look at the role of literature in Africa. We can look at things like imperialism, colonialism. But I'm really excited about this book. Then we're going to shift to looking at Maus. And Maus is a novel that deals with the Holocaust, and it's a graphic novel, but it's interesting because I found that it was very, very powerful and touched on some new issues within the Holocaust, and we can also look at the role of Holocaust literature. We will look at one Shakespeare play. We're going to look at Henry V. It's an epic play. Henry V is just epic. It's a play that deals with war, with rhetoric, with politics. I know that Shakespeare is hard online, but, I found that, students write really good papers, and I'm sort of adjusting my lectures to make Shakespeare more accessible online. We're going to end with The Hate U Give, which is a book that I'm trying to get rid of and stop using, but yet the student response has been so overwhelmingly powerful. Students really like the perspective of the book. They like examining the issues it deals with. I mean, it does deal with some issues of race and racism in America. We can talk about the role that African Americans play in literature as well. The irony is I may be the only one that doesn't like it, but I get such positive feedback at the end of the semester. And I'll check in with you when we get into to see what you overall think of the book. But those are the books for class. And the thing is, we never meet in person. We're all online. And I want you to remember that you need to send me a welcome email before the end of the week, week 1. Otherwise, I'll drop you and make rooms for ads. But overall, I'm super excited for our class. Our class is going to be lots of fun, and I look forward to seeing kind of what you think of the class and the poems that are going to be the first week of class.